Some of our projects, Cuatrovientos comes to mind. Clients they bought $250,000 condo, and it's well over 350.
Exactly.
Before it's delivered.
Exactly. And some of the points that we talk about with somebody who is a little leery of pre-construction and maybe wants something now, because let's say I want something now, I want to start renting it now. Well, the cash flow you'll realize in rental is nothing near what the equity is you'll realize in a pre-construction unit.
Welcome to the Nick Fong Podcast. As the broker and owner of Ronival Real Estate, Nick has spent nearly 20 years in Baja California Sur. And in this podcast, he'll be talking everything Baja, from food and culture to real estate and property management. And now, here's your host, Nick Fong.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. Today, Scott Purcell. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Blake. Great to be here.
For all of you that don't remember Scott, he's our development manager here in Ronival Real Estate. And I wanted you on the podcast to tell everyone about the exciting new projects. And for many of you, you probably don't know, but 1/3 of our inventory in the MLS is new construction. And it is very appropriate to talk about new construction because of the lack of inventory that our market is feeling.
That's right. And, that's an important topic because as agents are looking to fulfill the desires of their clients, with 1/3 of the inventory being developments, they have to consider developments of pre-construction. Mm-hmm. So it's a great opportunity for them to present options for buyers to come in and actually gain equity, get advantageous pricing for, investing a little early in a project.
Right. Of course, there always needs to be special considerations as a buyer, or if you're an agent representing a buyer for pre-construction developments or in-construction developments. What are some of the things that they should be looking for?
Well, you want to make sure that you're looking at a development that is actually moving. So there's construction going on. There's people on the job site, and that it's moving forward. You often want to look for some provenance in the name. Mm-hmm. So many of the developments we have, there's a lot of goodwill behind the developments. Mm-hmm. Certainly contracts, make sure that contracts aren't one-sided. You want to make sure that your payments are set up so that they go along with milestones. For example, if you're going to buy a new development.
Wait, can we go back?
Yeah, sure.
You said the contracts you mean two-sided, so that they...
You want to make sure they're two-sided, not one-sided.
Right.
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of the developments we've seen in the past have had contracts that really didn't look good for the buyers. Mm-hmm. We're more there to protect the developers and the sellers. Okay. So with our developments, we always balance those contracts so that there are protections for both sides.
Okay. Yeah. And in some cases, though, we find the more established developers being less flexible sometimes in terms of penalties. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. But then you have a trade-off too. So you have, for example, Via del Palmar Group. Mm-hmm. They're building a beautiful resort condominium complex in Danzante Bay. They've been doing this, and they have a track record of 35 years of goodwill in the industry, of building and delivering on time. Right. So in these instances, there are less protections for the buyer in the contract, but there's a lot of goodwill. Mm-hmm. So there's no doubt they're going to be delivering. Right. The latest building they have, before they even brought it to the market, was 80% done.
Right. Okay, so getting back to the original question, what buyers of pre-construction developments and buyer agents representing those buyers should be looking for? You want to make sure they have a contract that is not just one-sided. You want to make sure that there's construction happening on the site. Reputation, of course, matters. Experience matters. Mm-hmm. What else should buyers be looking for?
Well, they want to look for value. They want to look for location. They want to look for quality. Mm-hmm. I think that all of our developments represent all of the issues that we're looking to provide for the buyers, to make sure that it is a positive experience. Mm-hmm. Use Quattro Vientos for an example. if you go by and look at the progress on site, they are on time. The construction area is clean. There's a lot of movement. We just opened the lobby. And
just to give perspective, if any of our viewers or listeners are new to the podcast and don't know Cuatrovientos, can you give a brief 30-second intro?
Cuatrovientos is a development that is in the center of El Tezal. It's located right between Costco and Home Depot. It has amazing views of both the Sea of Cortez and Land's End, depending on which building you're in. It is being built by a developer named Ende from Guadalajara with a tremendous amount of experience in building and really meticulous in their construction.
Right.
The contractor comes from a long history of building in Los Cabos as well.
Great. All right. And there's a condo project in El Tezal, so several units have sold. You were saying that project, for example, is... what were you saying? You were saying...
we were talking about what offers confidence to the buyer.
Correct. Right?
So confidence in that it's a contractor that's been building here. He built in Costa Palmas. He's built in Pedregal. All of these different places. Quite an extensive history of building.
Right.
Combined with a developer that has a very extensive history of developing in Guadalajara. This is their first project in Cabo San Lucas, but it is going very well. Their timelines are right on schedule. We are going to be delivering the first building in January or February, the following building in just a few months later, and progress has already started on phase 2. We are probably a couple of weeks away from finishing the foundation in phase 2 in the first building.
Okay. Great. And there eventually will be a phase 3 to the project.
Yes,
too.
we actually opened sales in phase 3 during the summertime to offer options at a lower price. Phase 3 is in the back of the development, has more of a community and mountain view. And so our strategy with the developer is to offer the right product at the right time.
Right. All right. So Quattro Vientos is a great project in El Tezal. What other projects are we representing throughout Baja?
So we have, I'll start at the top, where as we just mentioned, Mantarraya, which is an amazing wellness luxury resort in Danzante Bay. Danzante Bay is a master plan community that really kind of followed the opposite of what you see in most developments. Most developments, they'll build the condos and then they'll build the amenities and all the structures that support it. In Danzante Bay, they built the golf course, which is the only tournament players club course in Mexico.
Right.
Matter of fact, one of 2 in the entire Latin America. They have a hotel, beautiful hotel on site. And as I mentioned earlier, the developer didn't even release sales for this particular building until it was about 80% done. With Mantarrayas, we're looking at deliveries as early as March or April of next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we just released that project a month ago.
Yes, we already have, I believe, 5 sales in the building as well. So.
And why is it important that construction is so advanced as opposed to what we see with a lot of the newer developments in the last couple of years? What's been the trend with developers?
As we saw a rise in the market over the last few years, everybody wants to get in on it. So you have a lot of people wanting to take advantage of the market, and they're coming in, and as we've interviewed many of them, they'll say, well, we're looking to sell before we can build. And those are typically the developers that we don't work with, because the last thing we want to do is be committed to a certain number of sales before they can even begin construction.
Right.
So what we look for is developers that are very well established, they're funded, they have funding, they will build regardless of sales. And that is really, that's why we have 6 developments right now, right? Yep. So we say no to a lot more than we say yes to, simply because we are extremely cautious about who we do business with and who we promote with the Ronival brand.
Right. Great. So some of the key ingredients you mentioned earlier for a successful development is number 1, the developer, number 2, the builder.
Yes.
And just for people that are new to buying new construction, what role does a developer have in the process? What role does the builder have?
Developers are typically the master planners. So they're coming in with architects They have the experience of how to build. They have the engineers. The contractor will come and do the physical building itself. So going back to the instance of Ende is a very well-versed developer with all of this experience on how to, and the contractor, AGM, is the actual building itself.
Got it. And it's important to have very reputable, well-experienced on both sides.
It is super important. And if you look, as we were talking about Danzante Bay with the Villas del Palmar group, in Loreto, it's a little bit remote. They actually have their own crew that lives within this area on site.
Right.
And so they're building no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So what other projects do we have?
Monteluna in Pedregal. So Monteluna is a very unique project. It's low density, and they will have about 23 units. They are a wellness-focused community. It's a single condo building with fourth floor dedicated just to amenities, pool, spa, wellness treatments.
Right.
So it's more of a quality of life development.
And all of those are 3-bedroom units also.
All of those are 3-bedroom units, except for the 2 penthouses, which are 4-bedroom units with expansive outdoor living spaces.
Okay, and that project's in the Pedregal.
That project is in the gates of Pedregal with beautiful views of downtown and the Bay of Medano.
Hey, thanks for being a part of the Nick Fong podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast to get the latest updates. And if you're watching this on our social channels, please like and share. And if you want to be featured or you want me to talk on a certain topic, food, activities, culture, real estate in the Baja, drop a comment. So from Pedregal, where will we go next?
Well, we've passed by Quattro Vientos. Now we're at Vistamar, which is perfectly tucked between the two cities of San Jose and Cabo San Lucas. If you've never been to Tule, go. It's worth a visit because the views there and the peace and tranquility that's offered in that community are spectacular. So the first time I went there, I was absolutely stunned. Vistamar is an amazing development with an investor that we know very well. That's very well established in the area. They've already finished and delivered their first building. They're halfway constructing their phase 2 building. And as of today, just this morning, we released 5 units on phase 3. What's great about this is phase 3, it's 2 years away. So what does that do for you? It's kind of a built-in financing options for those of you who don't want to put all of the money in right away. Right. You can pay as progress is made over the course of the next 2 years. But the other great thing is we have prices starting around the $240,000 range with direct ocean views. And amenities like pools and gyms and gated community within a gated community.
Right.
And you have the peace and solitude of this beautiful area of El Tule.
And how big are the units?
The units are about 1,200 square feet.
Okay, and there are 2 bedrooms?
2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Okay, excellent. And that's in El Tule.
Yes.
And if we go towards San Jose, what else do we have?
We have Cenit talking about the provenance of a very well-established builder. This is backed by a combination of TMG Investments and Pueblo Bonito Group. The name of the developer is Baja Capstone. Right. So this represents very deep roots in Los Cabos. They have developments throughout the Baja, northern Baja, as well as in mainland. And this, I don't know if you've been to it lately, but the amount of excavation that's going into this project is actually stunning. There is a sales center on site, open. We have finishes on site. We have staff that's going to be on site late this week. We have a beautiful virtual tour. This will be a community of 3 separate luxury buildings with 30 units in each building. Right now, we're selling the building that is facing Palmilla Point. The next building will be Bahia building, which faces the bay. And the third building will be the Estero building. So they're all named after their viewpoint. What's really cool about this community is the living aspect. So we don't just have amenities, we have programs, the Cenit Life. There's going to be, all kinds of events that involve the community that lives in Cenit. There'll be guided yoga, there'll be exercise, there will be events. There's actually a food truck that will be on site. That will be staffed daily.
And the Sky Bar?
The Sky Bar, yes. So wine tastings at the Sky Bar. Sky Bar is aptly named because it's on the very top floor on the rooftop of the first building.
The Palmilla building.
The Palmilla building, yes. Okay. So a lot of excitement going into this.
What are we calling that feature above the pool that's like cantilever, kind of floating on the infinity edge pool?
It's called the Nube. So it's kind of like you mentioned, cantilevered, kind of half hanging over the pool. And it's really just an area to sit kind of in the shade with a little bit of sun exposure in like a nest. It's really interesting.
And Nube in Spanish means cloud. So it's like you're in the clouds.
Exactly.
And Cenit means what? It's the Spanish word for...
Well, for zenith, roughly translated into English. So it's the highest point. And that is significant because Cenit sits on literally the highest point in San Jose. So as we talked about before, we coined the phrase penthouse views from every unit. The next closest building is just under the first level at Cenit. So the penthouses on the next building in front are under the first level of this building. So penthouse level views from every floor.
Yeah, the neighboring community, their penthouses are about the level of the parking garage.
Exactly, yes. And what's great about the parking garage is it's subterranean. So I mentioned earlier all this excavation going on. The buildings are actually built above the parking. There will be car wash station inside the parking. There's storage units that come with each of the units. There will be charging stations for those who have electric cars. There will be electric bikes and scooters for use. And I don't know if you know much about San Jose, but there's a lot of bike lanes. So you can get around town really comfortably using the bike lanes.
Okay, cool. And how many elevators per building?
That's another great feature. Each building, and this is really rare, each building has 3 different elevators. So you're only sharing your elevator with one other person on each floor. Yeah.
Very nice. And some of the units actually have elevator to the unit.
Yes. So some of the penthouses have direct elevator access into the unit.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So that's Cenit, and construction already started.
Yes, it's already started. We'll be pouring concrete later this month, early December for the foundation.
Fantastic. Just in time for high season.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so that's Cenit, and where do we go from Cenit?
From Cenit, we'll move up the coast to La Paz.
Okay.
We have an exciting project in La Paz. So exciting. We're down to the last penthouse unit. The penthouse there is almost triple height. So triple height of what a normal condominium would be inside. Yeah. 4 bedrooms, amazing 4.5 bathrooms with views, beautiful, unparalleled, unobstructed views directly over the bay in La Paz. It is an amazing building. What's really cool about Laiva, the name of the project in La Paz, is the quality of construction there. Normally we see a lot of developments where they're using concrete blocks that are 6 inches. Yeah. When normally we think of concrete blocks as 8 inches. They're one step above that. They're poured solid walls. Every wall is poured solid. And what's really unique about the finish on the walls is they used wood slats to form the concrete form so that when they pull them off, it actually looks like the walls are made of wood. Right. But it's this really thick concrete. And just amazing amenities and finishes. The top of this building, the rooftop, will be a yoga area, gym, a pool that is an infinity edge that looks right over the bay of La Paz. Just an amazing project.
And if you don't know anything about La Paz, it has that boardwalk that goes for miles, connecting all the restaurants, the nightlife. It has... you're right on the water, right there. Real estate is more affordable in La Paz.
It is.
And also it's a slower pace. It's more Mexican, as I like to describe it. What is the price of that penthouse?
That penthouse is right around the $1 million mark,
Okay.
but absolutely worth it.
It's basically a house.
It is. It's amazing. It's huge, and it is towering above the Malecon.
Okay, fantastic. So that's Liva. Only
Yes.
one penthouse remaining.
That's right.
And are we missing anything else? What other projects do we have going on? Or maybe you can tell people some things that are coming online?
Well, we have some really exciting projects. It's a little too early to talk specifics about. Exciting projects, Rivieri.
Well, that one we just released. Exactly.
Yes.
Where's that one located?
Rivieri is located in El Tizal, in the heart of El Tizal, really. So you're kind of up the hill. Construction and land movement has just started. We expect the platforms and foundations to begin in the next couple of weeks. So this is a really exciting community because all of these developments we've talked about so far are all condos. And that is a normal for our market right now. So the model has really kind of moved away from single family homes and into condos. What's so exciting about Rivieri is we have houses. We have duplexes. So they're low density, horizontal development. So you can have roughly a 2,000 square foot home for around the mid 300s. Really exciting and unusual for this area right now.
Sure is.
In a Mediterranean feel environment. With a developer, again, goes back to experience. This is a developer that's very well established in the area, has built other developments, is working with developers who have built other different developments. So they've come together to form this team, and it's moving forward, trailblazing. We've been on the market for about a month, and we already have 5 sales in Rivieri.
All right.
So it's moving quickly.
And land's just starting to be moved.
Yes, that's correct. So if you happen to be in the area and you drive up towards Lunas del Tazal, right behind it, you'll see all of this earth that's being flattened. And the views are amazing.
We touched on it earlier, what buyers of new construction projects should be looking for. It's not all perfect. I mean, yes, you can get equity buildup. You can help make customizations. You can say, I want this color finish, cabinetry, sometimes the granite countertops.
That's right.
So you get a little bit choice in selections as opposed to a resale unit. But it's not all rosy. What are some of the things that can go wrong?
Some of the things that can go wrong are we've experienced over the last few years issues with deliveries that are beyond the control of the developer. I'll give you an example. Elevators that come from Brazil are running late. Appliances, because of the demand and the spike in the market, appliances sometimes. So when it comes to things like that are out of the control of the developer, even though they purchased them early, they sometimes are coming late. The other thing is, this is Baja, so we have a slower pace. And builders who are used to an environment like Mexico City or in the United States where things happen very, very quickly. Things happen a little bit slower here, but that's one of the great things about living here. So, when we talk about late deliveries, we're talking about a month or two, right? But along with that are a lot of positive sides. So buying into a development, it's a trade-off between the buyer and the developer. Developers here, when they leverage money, it's expensive in Mexico. So when a buyer comes in early, that's the advantage to the developer of not having to leverage that money. And so in exchange, the buyer gets a really amazing pricing structure. So you're getting the advantage of buying in early at a discounted pre-construction rate. And you have the assurance of only making payments as milestones are reached. So when the foundation is done, when the building is complete, when the delivery is ready. And along with that, you have the equity that's built up in the market over that period of time.
I mean, some of our projects, Quattro Vientos comes to mind. Clients they bought $250,000 condo and it's well over $350,000.
Exactly.
Before it's delivered.
Exactly. And some of the points that we talk about with somebody who is a little leery of pre-construction and maybe wants something now, let's say I want something now, I want to start renting it now. Well, the cash flow you'll realize in rental is nothing near what the equity is you'll realize in a pre-construction unit.
Right. Great point. What are the trends that you can foresee in the next couple of years for new developments in the Baja?
New developments from the Baja will be mostly condos, some housing communities, mostly condos. I think that the competition is tough right now, so be careful to look for all of the things that we talked about earlier. The developer, who's representing the development, and what their story is.
Yep.
Their story is really important. So I think we're going to see a focus on quality with Ronival, a focus on amenities and on location.
Yep. That's it. Scott, I appreciate you joining us and giving us an update on the Ronival developments and the overall market when it comes to pre-construction developments, as it represents a third of our inventory. But I was just talking to one of our agents before the podcast, and it probably is more than a third, because most of our developments they don't put all their inventory on the market.
That's correct. Yes.
Right? So they'll put 5 or 6 units. So it probably is over 50% of our market.
Easily.
And so if you're a buyer in our market and you don't know how to buy pre-construction, new construction developments, and you don't know about what developments that are out there, make sure to work with an MLS real estate agent. They're going to be the most educated. They're going to help you through a lot of these things, like the contract, the background, the history, the story of the developer, of the builder. And if you have any questions, contact us. We're here to help. And until the next one, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronival Real Estate, and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronival. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronival.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.